Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. I hope you're having a positive and productive day. My name is Kel with the Planner Owl, and today I'm reviewing the August intention box from Cloth and Paper and walking through all of the ways you can use the items inside. The theme for this box is all about financial planning, which couldn't come at a better time. With school starting back up and holiday season around the corner, I feel like August is such a good month to revisit best practices around managing your budget and expenses. I've been budgeting myself for years. It's the best way to really hold yourself accountable and make sure you're meeting whatever financial goals you've set for yourself. If you want to see a detailed walkthrough of my budgeting process, I'll link that video in the description. I do have an updated budget planning video coming next week, including the setup of my brand new budget planner, so make sure to subscribe if you want to check that out. This video, however, is all about the August intention box, so let's hop to it and see what's inside. Make sure to stick around until the end for my final thoughts and rating, and as always, feel free to leave me a comment below with any questions or topics that you'd like for me to include in my next video. Without further ado, let's hop in. So opening up our information packet, we have the member access card, the what's inside card with details on what's in the box, and the October pop-up calendar. Next, we have the August dust bag. This month, we have this smoky brown semi-transparent dust bag with silver hardware. It's a thin PVC material with a snap closure on the front and Cloth and Paper printed at the bottom. The great thing about this bag is that it does snap close, so you don't have to worry about your items falling out. And because it's a PVC material, you don't have to baby this too much. If it gets wet or you get something on it, you can just wipe it off. I think it's a really good size as well. I'll throw the dimensions on the screen here, but you can slide a 5 or half letter inserts inside really easily, and it does give a bit, so you can use it to hold accessories like your writing utensils, sticky notes, memo pads, or other items that you want to have at arm's reach. A great use for this that's in line with the theme would be using it as like a little finance bundle. If you use certain accessories while you budget, you could throw everything in here so you can just have one thing to grab when setting up your budget each month. So for example, let's say that you use a set of inserts and notes pages, colored labels, expense tracking sheets, maybe some payday stickers and dot stickers, and then a couple of highlighters to categorize. You can throw all of those inside so you have a quick one-stop shop when you're ready to sit down and plan. I think this is a really nice little bag to have on hand. I don't love the color, but I am glad that it's transparent, so at least you don't have to hunt to find what's inside. The other thing to note with the hardware is that these silver buttons will get scratched up, so if you don't like seeing scuffs on your hardware, then make sure to always sit this on its back. I'm not sure how I'm going to use this yet. I may use it to hold tear-off sheets from my memo pad so the pages don't go to waste, but I think this is a really good bag. It's a large enough size to fit most planner paper. It's a flexible, durable plastic. I think a lot of people will get good use out of this. Next, we have our August monthly reflection card. They include one of these each month. This month, the text across the front says mindful in all uppercase minus the lowercase I, and the question prompt asks, what does it mean to you to be well prepared for the future? I'm not a fan of getting one of these each month, although I have found uses for about 5 or so. Essentially, I just throw them in my suitcases and bags to use as little mirrors. I'm not going to go into detail on these since I do so in previous videos, but if you want to see ideas on how to use them, I'll link my Subbox review playlist down below. So here we have one dashboard this month. This is the Art of Living dashboard. It's a white textured cardstock with a black and white photo print in the center, and then at the bottom you have the Art of Living in brackets, a quote by Alan Watts that talks about the best ways to experience life, and then Cloth and Paper written below that. When I first saw this dashboard, it reminded me so much of that Avril Lavigne album cover for her Let Go album, that sort of life speeding by rushed feel. I don't know why that popped in my head, but it did. But the dashboard is really bare bones. You don't have a lot going on here. In terms of text or colors, it's very basic and has a really simplistic look and feel to it that allows you to focus on the text and the meaning behind Watts' quote, which I really appreciate. Typically, I love this type of minimally designed dashboard, but something is just throwing me off here. I don't know if it's because the print is really narrow, so there's too much white space, or maybe the balance between the photo and the text is off. I'm not sure, but it's not really landing for me. I do like the simplicity, but everything together here just doesn't quite work for my tastes. I do think it's a great dashboard overall though, and the messaging is powerful as well. So while I'm not a huge fan, I think a lot of people will like this. If this isn't your cup of tea, because it's so narrow, you can always cut this down and make it a journaling card. That's what I plan to do. I don't like this as a dashboard, but this would make a really nice background in my agenda as a card, especially with the photo being a black and white abstract print. I love the quote, and I think it's a really nice addition to the box. Next, we have this financial organizer and labels. Looking at the organizer first, this is a 7 by 4¼ inch expanding file. It's a really nice smooth leather finish and comes in this silvery taupe, almost grayish color with a silver magnetic clasp on the front. I will say this definitely looked more tan in the sneak peeks, but this is not tan at all. It definitely falls in the gray category on the color wheel. Either that or they're sending different colors of these in each box. Opening this up, you have cloth and paper imprinted in the middle, and then 6 plastic expanders that you can use to hold a number of things. So this is really pretty. I love the sort of upscale simplicity of it. You can find expanding files just about everywhere, but the leather or faux leather outside really just elevates the look 100%. I like seeing a magnetic snap closure as well, and the light gray stitching around the sides adds a little flair to it without looking overbearing. So if you're familiar with expanding files, you know that their strength is in their versatility. There are so many ways you can use these. You can use it to hold cash or receipts, index cards for work. You can use it for reimbursable expenses or tax receipts that you need to reference later. I've also seen people use it to hold recipe cards or important docs like Social Security or insurance cards. You can use it to house coupons or personal items like postcards or thank yous. The list goes on. And the best part about these folders is that it allows you to store a lot of information in a really compact way, which makes the most out of your space. There's also little slots here at the top that you can slide labels into, or if you don't want to use those, you can attach labels to the front to categorize your sections. So sticking with the financial planning theme, I think a really popular use for these will be receipts. Because it's a smaller expander, you can't really put full-size paper in here unless you fold it up several times, but receipts can fit in here really nicely. You can separate each section by type, so maybe entertainment, groceries, car, etc., or you can separate by amount. So maybe expenses under $50 you house in the first section, $50 to $100 in the second, and so forth and so on. You can also use it as a cash envelope if you follow that system. Just keep in mind there are 6 slots here, so depending on your financial situation, you may have more categories than you have space for. If you do want to use the cash envelope system, but like me, don't carry any cash or do the majority of your shopping online, you can always use budget cards to achieve the same effect. So basically, you write your budget for the month at the top, and then every time you make a purchase, you deduct it from your starting amount. Like cash, you're taking away the amount and tracking each expense, but you're not physically removing money. One thing to be mindful of with this is to not stuff it too full. These folders can hold quite a bit, but because the closure is magnetic, you're still limited to how full it can get before the magnet won't hold. I had a few ideas of how I plan to use this. I was going to use it to house my receipts for parking and well-being purchases that I get reimbursed for at work, but my mom really loved this, so I'll likely end up giving it to her. But this is a really great addition to this box. It fits the theme perfectly, it's super functional, and you're able to use it to house so many things. They also included this set of transparent label stickers that pair with this organizer. You have 2 sheets with 22 stickers on each. The text is the same on both. The difference is one sheet is clear and the other is a darker transparent. Looking at the text here, these were intended to be used with the organizer, but the categories on each label are broad enough that you can use these in several areas in your planning routine. If you don't want to use it here, you can use them on dividers in your budget planner or maybe on your overview spreads to mark your sections. Another thing I love about these is the font on the labels. This is super particular, but I much prefer a thin, precise line over bold text, so I'm really happy with the font that they chose. I'm also glad they have a nice variety of categories listed and should cover the majority of areas people use when planning out your finances. The only category that was not on here that I really wanted to see was debt. That's something that most people have to some degree, whether it's student loans or a car note or something, but that's super minor in the scheme of things. The fact that they included these along with the organizer is excellent. I'm a huge fan of practical accessories, so this is by far a win in my book. Next, we have the Modern Bound Notepad. You have a set of 50 expense sheets over top a 6.5 by 11 inch brushed metal plate. On the middle plate, it says cloth and paper with 2 dials on each side that twist off so you can add and remove sheets. This is compatible with A5 and half letter paper, and because the top plate is a little longer, it covers the additional holes so they don't show. So looking at the actual pages first, these are expense tracking sheets that are intended to be used in line with the Kakeibo method of financial planning. If you aren't familiar, the Kakeibo method is a Japanese budgeting technique developed by Hani Motoko that focuses on mindful spending, monthly reflection, and cultivating a more intentional and present lifestyle. One of the key principles of the Kakeibo method is keeping manual financial records to help you stay more aware and conscious of your spending habits. So to use this method, you're going to consider 4 fundamental questions. How much money do you have? How much are you spending? How much do you want to save? And how can you improve? And then divide your expenses into 4 main categories: needs, wants, culture, and unexpected, in order to see patterns in your spending that'll give you better insight into your routine and help you visualize your goals. Then at the end of the month, you review your spending, compare it to your goals, and then make any adjustments as necessary. This is a great expense sheet for those using this method when budgeting. Here you have your column for date, description, 4 columns under category, which is where you list Motoko's 4 categories: needs, wants, culture, and unexpected expenses. And then you have a column for amount, and at the bottom, you have an area for notes and then a space to write your totals. Overall, I like these sheets. I think they're great for people needing to see an overview of where they tend to spend the most money. The downside to these is that you're really limited in what you can write on here. If you follow the Kakeibo method and you want to get a feel of where your money's going on a broader level, then this could work for you. But if you like to detail out your expenses, this is going to feel extremely limited. I feel like this is more geared towards those who are new to budgeting, that are trying to get a feel for it, or those who may be switching up their routine. One way I think these could work great is if you're trying to set budget amounts for your categories, but you don't know how much to actually put there. Instead of going back through your year and adding up each category, you can use these sheets to group your expenses. That'll give you an idea of how much you're working with. If you do have a detailed expense tracker and you still want to use these, you could use them in tandem with your current system as like an overview sheet to see trends in certain months. That's probably what I'll end up doing. I create my own budget inserts and expense tracker, but there are some months where I like to compare my spending specifically from week to week, especially around the holidays, so I'll likely end up using these for that. What I love about these the most is the size. So often we get accessories where the writing space is just too cramped, but here you have plenty of space to write out a full description of your purchase without having to use abbreviations or get creative with color coding. I also like that this is refillable, so when you run out of pages, you can just purchase more if they end up on the website, or you can always make your own. If you aren't a fan of the Kakeibo method, or if these just don't work for you, you can take the sheets out and use whatever you want here. Once I use up all of my sheets, or maybe in between months where I'm not using these, I plan to print out a bunch of note paper and use it to jot down quick memos or reminders throughout the day. That's what I'm currently doing with this one. This one's from Russell and Hazel. I've had it forever. As you can see, I'm almost out of sheets, but this is very similar in style, and this stays at my desk. So if I'm in a meeting or something and I need to take a quick note, I just write it down here, and then afterwards I can transfer that information to my work notebook or my agenda if it's something I need to schedule or reference later. It's also really well made. The brushed metal has a really sturdy industrial look and feel to it, very similar to like the brushed nickel that you see on like lamps and mirrors and things, and the back has little rubber feet so the notepad doesn't slide around on your surface. I think my favorite thing about this is, again, the versatility. They include a set of finance sheets, but if you don't want to use those, you can use this for notes pages, daily schedules, meal planning sheets, tasks or to-do lists, habit trackers. Basically anything that you could benefit from having in a memo pad format could go here. There isn't any color on this, which some people may not like, especially given the type of metal used, but I really love this pad. I think the versatility is exactly what functional planners hope to see in a sub box. So happy they included this month. So moving on, we have one set of inserts this month. These are the Financial Planning 2nd edition inserts. This is a 6-month bundle. Each month has a monthly overview page and recurring payments on the back, 5 weekly expense log sheets, a monthly savings and debt tracker, a monthly reflection page and notes page, and then at the back you have your demo pages. So the great thing about this insert set is that they give you an entire bundle, so everything you need to track your financial progress is all here in a nice compact set. So first you have your monthly overview. Here you have your date field at the top, an area to write what you budgeted for the month versus what you actually spent, and then a space to write the difference. Below that, you have a section to list your category, and then a column for how much you budgeted versus how much you spent for each category, an area to the right of that to write down the items in your shopping list, the price, and then a column to check off once you've purchased it, and then a notes column here to write down anything you need to jot down applicable to that month. This is a very straightforward overview page, although it's definitely more of a condensed layout. It would have been nice to see the debt and savings tracker on here as well instead of at the back, so it's not out of sight, out of mind. Overall though, I think this is a nice simplified overview that people will be happy with. Flipping over, you have your recurring payments page. In the first section, you have a column for income, one for amount, and one to list the due date. Below that, you have a section for your bills, and then at the bottom, you have a section for subscriptions. So this is where you start to see the limitations of these more structured bundles. Unless you're breaking out your bills by those you need to pay versus those that are auto-drafted, most people will need way more lines than what's here. Also, a lot of people group their subscriptions together with their bills, especially for streaming services and things, so separating it may not make that much sense. That being said, this would work great for those who want to track their subscriptions or if you're trying to determine which ones you should cancel. In that case, breaking it out like this can give you a better picture of how much you're actually spending each month and make it easier to cancel when the time comes. Next, we have 5 weekly expense log pages. Similar to the monthly overview spread, you have your total budgeted, actual, and a column to list the difference at the top. And then below that, you have 6 sections for your listed category with the description column to write the category, a column for what you budgeted, and one for what you actually spent. So this is probably my least favorite sheet in this bundle. Again, you're extremely limited in what you can include here and how much you can include. If you use these the way the Kakebo method intended, then these categories will be needs, wants, culture, and unexpected, and that just leaves way too few lines for the number of expense categories that would go under each category type. One thing you can do is modify this a bit to fit your personal budget a little better. Maybe you break out culture into 2 categories, like social and physical, or you could add a category for gifting or development or something. Again, because these are so structured, you have to kind of find ways to make these work for you. I think if you're new to budgeting, this is a perfect starting point because it gives you that sort of guided approach that's super helpful when you may be a little unsure of things. But for those with the financial planning system already in place, this just isn't going to be robust enough to handle a more complex budget. Flipping over, you have your monthly savings section at the top with a column to list the date, notes, how much you deposited, and your account balance, and then a space to write your goal and total saved. And then below that, you have your debt tracker with the date column, notes, amount paid, and your ending balance. So this one's also pretty straightforward, and there's plenty of space to list everything. If you don't have a ton of different savings accounts, you can always use this space to list out your sinking funds, or just have one line for sinking funds and list the other savings methods as you normally would. The last spread in this bundle is the monthly reflection page, and this is my favorite sheet in this set. On the left-hand side, you have an info section to summarize your monthly budget, total spent, total saved, and your account balance. And then below that, you have a section to list the goals that you met, your spending habits, and a space to list next month's goals. And then on the right-hand side, you have a box for each week where you can write out your budget totals for that week like they show in the demo, or you can write how you were feeling, anything unexpected that came up, or really anything you want to write here that could be useful when flipping back through at the end of the month. Again, I do like this bundle, but like I mentioned earlier, this is definitely geared towards people who are new to budgeting and need the defined structure, or those whose budget system is set to work within these limits. I have no plans of using these, but I do think a lot of subscribers will like this bundle. I mentioned this earlier as well, but I do have my own budget inserts and expense sheets that I use available as freebies in my resource library, so feel free to head over to the website and download those if you're interested. The last item this month are the writing utensils. This month we have 2 pens. So starting with the first, this is the Pilot G6 retractable gel pen in the color black. It has a 0.5mm tip, and the barrel has a nice rubber coating from top to bottom so your fingers don't slip while holding it. Doing a pen test here, the ink feels like a standard gel pen. It's smooth, I'm not getting any skipping. I'm not sure if you can tell on here, but the ink is more of a dark gray rather than black, so something to note if that's important to you. Other than that though, it's a really nice writing experience. A couple things to note, the barrel is really thick, so that's something to keep in mind if you plan to use this in your pen loops. The other thing is it feels a bit uncomfortable for me to hold. I'm not sure if that's because of the size or where the rubber hits the bottom here, but it's definitely noticeable. The ink itself though is fine, and I think it's a solid gel pen. Second, we have the Winsor & Newton Fineliner pen, also in the color black. This one has a 0.3mm tip and has a long, thin barrel. So doing a pen test here, this ink is definitely more pigmented than the Pilot. The black is a really rich and deep color, and it really stands out on paper. It does feel a bit scratchy, which is a little bit irksome to me. The smaller the tip, the scratchier these pens can feel, and with a 0.3mm tip, it's not surprising this one is giving me some trouble. I love the look of this pen though. It feels nice in your hand and has a really clean and simple design. The great thing about this pen is it's water resistant and the ink is non-fading, so you don't have to worry about your designs fading anytime soon. If you like thinner nibs and a little scratchiness doesn't bother you, then I think this is a good option. For me, I've been using my Stabilo fine liners for years and I love them. Any fine liners I try need to live up to those for me to make the switch, and this one unfortunately does not. I am glad that they did send pens in this box as opposed to other types of writing utensils, and black ones at that. Most planners use black ink in their agendas, so it's good that they're sending some of these for us to try out. I'll be making a pass on both of these, but I do think people will be able to get some use out of them. And that wraps up the financial planning box from Cloth & Paper. So overall, I really liked this box. I think the theme was perfect for this time of year, and the products matched the theme really well. This is also a very straightforward box without all the bells and whistles, very practical and simple, which I appreciate. My favorite item this month is the Modern Bound Notepad. There's just so many ways to use this, even if you don't want to use the sheets it came with. I love the idea of printing notes pages and having this on my desk as an area to take quick notes, and you can always print additional pages so you can use this over and over again and use it for different things if you change your mind. My least favorite item this month are the financial planning inserts. My budget routine is far too complex to be able to use these. I do like them in general though, and I think it's a really nice bundle for those who are new to financial planning and need more of a guided insert, or for those whose budget happens to line up with the structured spaces of this insert. All in all, I'm rating this box an 8.8 out of 10. Everything we got was super practical and able to be used in a number of different ways. We got a nice dust bag that's large enough to fit a wide array of things. We got an expanding file with labels for you to store cash or receipts or other smaller items. And we got a 6-month pack of inserts that some people will find useful. I also like the colors this month. Everything has a muted neutral feel, which is very pleasant to look at. One thing I would have liked to see is a planning accessory that's strictly for budgeting, like maybe some finance stickers, a calculator, or even a budgeting best practices dashboard or card or something. But even so, this box is extremely functional and is great for anyone who monitors and tracks their finances. And that is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do want to see more planning and organizational content, please hit the like button and subscribe. You would help my channel out a lot. I have several new videos coming next week, including part 1 of my beginner planner series and a budget refresh video as well. I know a lot of people have been asking for my home tour video, and I promise I will get that up for you soon. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for more planner tips and inspo, sending positive vibes your way. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day.